behind the scenes is always a better show.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's what people don't see during the commercial break.
Right, they don't.
What happened?
I had no idea really what I was getting myself into.
That day that we walked out, I treasure that day. I couldn't sit there.
You're doing good, Joy. You're doing good.
Oh, yeah, baby.
It was crazy.
Behind the Table. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
When you think of an Oscar-winning actor, you don't think of me. You think of people like Robert De Niro, Leonardo DiCaprio. But you don't think of this.
Congratulations on your Oscar.
Yeah. Now, Friday night, a joyous and emotional celebration.
What was it like to hand that Oscar to your mom?
Asians in Hollywood have a lot to celebrate this year, for damn sure.
The new face of Hollywood.
I love that.
Friday night at 8, 7 Central on ABC.
You're watching America's #1 streaming news, ABC News Live. Breaking news, exclusives, live reporting across the globe. Keep streaming with ABC News Live.
Reporting from Hong Kong, I'm Britt Clennett. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Late last year, we started this project to try to find out how plastic bags and plastic film are recycled in America. And months later, late at night, it led us here to one of the oldest incinerators in the country.
If a lot of people really made the connection between what they put in the recycle bin, what they put in the garbage, and the fact that they're going to breathe it, we'd have folks paying a lot closer attention.
We live in a world filled with plastic, and many love its convenience. It wraps the food we eat, the packages we order, the groceries we buy. The United States produces more plastic waste than any other country on Earth. But have you thought about where it all goes? You may think those iconic 3 arrows forming a triangle mean plastic is off to a recycling plant.
We call it wish cycling, where they think that they'll get recycled.
But it turns out, it's not that simple.
A lot of people don't think of what happens. They have zero idea.
To get a better idea of just what is happening, ABC News spent the past 6 months examining how plastic bags are recycled, teaming up with 9 ABC stations in the largest investigation of its kind. It's a journey that took us coast to coast from incinerators.
I mean, it looks like a building-sized blowtorch.
To landfills.
Plastics and things like that, that's not what our facility is made for.
And to Washington, D.C.
Because I hope you understand my frustration.
Oh, I do. Deploying dozens of trackers to see just how the plastic bag recycling system in this country is working. Hearing from people in communities who say they're forced to live with the consequences of all this waste.
That's why we fight. This thing landed on top of us, and we've been fighting it ever since.
So you think you recycle?
You smell it, you feel it, you can't breathe.
We cannot recycle our way out of the plastic pollution crisis.
It's not enough for you to put your recyclables in the recycling bin.
Come with us as we dig into America's plastic bag recycling system to get to the bottom of what's being trashed. The evidence of our global plastic problem is all around us. It's in our oceans, it's washed up on our shores, it's stacked up in our landfills where it could take hundreds of years to decompose. While plastic continues to pile up, the industry has thrived, going from producing 2 million tons of plastic worldwide in 1950 to 348 million tons in 2017. In 2020, there was more plastic in the world than the combined weight of nearly every creature on the planet. It's also big business, netting the industry $520 billion globally every year.
The plastics industry is huge. It's the fossil fuel industry and the chemical industry combined.
And production is expected to double by 2040, even as we struggle to deal with the plastic we use, with roughly half thrown out after just a single use.
This issue requires everybody coming to the table.
So what can be done with all that plastic waste? 175 member countries of the United Nations have now pledged to sign an agreement by the end of 2024 to confront what they call an epidemic of plastic pollution. There is consensus that something needs to be done, but not how to get it done.
We need an international treaty that sets strong goals to reduce the production, generation, and use of plastic.
One of the greatest challenges is what to do specifically with plastic bags.
Film goes in a variety of things. It is an essential product.
Proponents boast of their utility, but plastic in general is difficult and expensive to recycle, and bags even more so. And plastic bags are also among the top sources of plastic pollution worldwide.
Plastic film, while a phenomenal innovation by our industry, more needs to be done to make that material not just recyclable, but more recycled.
At least 10 states have passed legislation limiting the use of plastic bags, but Americans still use 100 billion bags every year. The American Chemistry Council is a trade organization representing many industries, including plastic manufacturers, and has lobbied heavily against limits on plastic production.
Plastic helps us live better lives in countless ways. And what makes it valuable is its potential for sustainability.
In 2011, the ACC introduced the WRAP Recycling Action Program, or WRAP, as a way to help reduce plastic waste.
What happens to these bags and wraps? They can be recycled into new products, such as beautiful backyard decking, playground equipment, park benches, shopping carts, and bags.
Their website states that WRAP is a national public awareness and outreach initiative that works with retailers as well as local and state governments to encourage people to recycle plastic bags. The vice president of the ACC's plastics division, Joshua Baca, agreed to sit down with us.
We want to make it easy, simple, and convenient for consumers so that they could do the right things that they want to do, which is recycle more products.
As part of that initiative, the ACC promotes a nationwide directory of retail stores like Walmart and Target that show where you can bring used plastic bags and plastic film to be recycled. And the stores work with third parties to pick up the bags.
Our vision is pretty simple, is we view store drop-off, whether it's Walmart or Target or your local grocery store, as the bridge to consumers.
We wanted to see how that vision is working. So ABC News, along with 9 of our affiliates and owned stations across the country, assembled bundles of recyclable plastic bags, each of them containing a metal tracking device super glued inside, then wrapped in several layers of plastic bags.
All right, we glued it down. It's nice and secure.
I got 4.
Our teams fanned out across 10 states, dropping them off at Walmart and Target stores, 2 of the country's biggest retailers, with hundreds of stores with bins labeled for plastic bag recycling.
I'm outside of a Walmart in West Hills, California.
This is Northside Walmart here in Austin.
And I am in San Antonio, Texas, and I'm going to drop these plastic bags.
Okay, here's one of the drop-offs.
After the drop-offs, we spent months monitoring each tracker's location multiple times a day.
Here's where one of those air-tagged bags ended up.
The tracker is pinging whenever a mobile phone or digital device was near. We checked every location the trackers pinged from on their journey and determined they likely did not encounter plastic bag sorting en route, one that could have potentially separated a tracker from a bag. One of the first trackers to move was one we deployed at a Target in Kingston, New York, and it showed up about a week later deep inside a New York landfill, an outcome that would happen again and again around the country. In all, we launched 46 trackers, 23 of them last pinged at landfills or trash incinerators, 7 last stopped pinging at transfer stations that don't recycle or sort plastic bags, 6 pinged at the store where they were dropped off and haven't been heard from in months. For 3 others, we can't definitively say where they ended up. And 3 trackers were shipped to the other side of the world, to Southeast Asia. One tracker dropped off at a Walmart in Kingston, New York, traveled through New Jersey and ultimately 9,500 miles across the world to Batam, Indonesia. Another tracker dropped off by our team from KAKE at a Walmart in Wichita next went to this recycling transfer station.
You got plastic bags.
We help them finding markets for these materials.
Markets on the other side of the globe. Nearly 3 months later, a tracker showed up outside Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And a third tracker dropped off by our team from WFTV at a Walmart in Ormond Beach, Florida, traveling to a transfer station in Tampa Bay, then to Port Wentworth, Georgia. We didn't hear from this tracker for nearly 2 months until it pinged near a freeway in Selangor, Malaysia. All of them places in the same region with plenty of plastic problems of their own.
It's called the plastic waste trade. It's the Wild West of exporting plastics, and it's causing real damage, particularly in Indonesia and Malaysia.
You may be wondering if any of our trackers last pinged from facilities here in the U.S., which say they are involved with recycling plastic bags. The answer is only 4 did. Our investigation shedding light on the disturbing reality that the vast majority of the plastic we hope is recycled is not.
What do you make of those numbers?
I don't know all of the logistics that went on to make that a reality or not. But here's the point that I can defend. Plastic film today in particular is designed to be recyclable. Is it being recycled at a rate that is sufficient? The answer is no.
The most recent EPA data from 2018 shows less than 10% of plastic bags in the U.S. are actually recycled. Walmart and Target both declined our interview requests, as well as our request to see what happens at their stores to plastic bags they collect for recycling. In a statement, Target said that their intention is to make it easy for our guests to recycle plastic bags and that they're committed to looking at our processes to improve our recycling efforts. Walmart says they offer in-store recycling bins for plastic bags as an option for customers who may not have access to curbside recycling, and that they are pursuing initiatives to reduce the use of single-use plastic, including plastic bags. After learning about what we observed using our trackers, and just hours before our investigation aired, the research company that manages the online drop-off directory promoted by WRAP told us they've removed all Walmarts and Targets from their list until they can confirm that their store drop-off film and bag material is being recycled rather than landfilled or incinerated. Coming up, we take you to the communities who say they are impacted by all this trash.
This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families here in Poland.
At refugee centers.
In Putin's Russia.
On the ground in Ukraine.
Close to the front line.
From the capital. Destructive Cat 4 storm.
You're along I-5.
Boston is in the bullseye.
Let's go.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7, straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
Chester, Pennsylvania, a sliver of a town just south of Philadelphia, squeezed between I-95 and the Delaware River. The smell here is unmistakable. Residents talk about their eyes watering, shortness of breath, lightheadedness. And some told us practically everywhere they look, they see sickness.
The lady next door died about 3 years now, cancer, 213 cancer, 215 cancer, 219 cancer, and 227 cancer.
Margaret Brown has lived on this block her entire life. Her mother also died of cancer.
In the city of Chester, 73 years. I raised my kids here for 5 generations.
2016 State Health Department data shows Chester residents have a 24% higher risk of developing lung cancer and are 64% more likely to develop ovarian cancer than the state average. The asthma rate for children is 4 times the national average. Of course, it's difficult to prove these specific health issues are directly caused by pollution in the environment. 40% of adults develop cancer in their lifetime nationally, but there are many sources of pollution inside Chester city limits. A sewage disposal facility, an oil refinery, a highway full of big rigs, and the Covanta trash incinerator. Since the early 1990s, the Covanta Holding Corporation has operated the waste-to-energy trash incinerator just around the corner from Margaret's front door.
It was never wanted here. It was always a problem.
It's one of the largest incinerators in the nation, burning at least 2,600 tons of garbage every single day. One of our trackers dropped off at a store near Philadelphia ended up finding its way here instead of a recycling center.
People were doing their due diligence as good consumers, trying to be good stewards of the earth, but they were being lied to.
That angered Zuline Mayfield, leading the fight against the incinerator since the early 1990s, forming a community action group demanding the Covanta facility and other sources of pollution be shut down due to a long list of health concerns among Chester residents.
We had our first protest. We stopped the trucks right here on this street.
This community has been in survival mode, in fight mode, since that thing went online.
How many kids do you know have asthma?
A whole lot. But the statistic is that 38% of our children here in Chester have asthma. Philadelphia, their rate is 20. The national average is 8%. 8%.
There's so many deaths in this community. Lung problems. I have lung problems. Constant nosebleeds. Your eyes, they're running and burning all the time.
You worried about your children?
Yes, all three of my children. You can't sleep, listening to them trying to breathe.
It is very difficult to directly link any health effects to any one entity.
Dr. Marilyn Howarth has been studying air pollution in Chester for years. She says there is cause for concern.
So when you burn trash and waste, what goes into the air?
Particulates are the largest air pollutant, but also sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides. This incinerator really is the largest single point source of air pollutants in this region. And so it really does have a very high amount of particulates, and they are within their permits in most of the time. And so this is really a regulatory problem with the regulations not really adequately protecting people.
The EPA has not updated its emission standards on incinerators in over 30 years. Covanta says some studies show this kind of incinerator does not cause significant health impacts. They tell us they are not a major polluter in the area, and they say their emissions are well below EPA regulatory caps. 150 miles away, across the state line to New York, we visit another incinerator. One of our trackers last pinged here in the middle of the night. It's a different town with a similar story.
Everybody's there outside enjoying the river view, and it's like literally right next to the trash incinerator.
Courtney Williams moved her family to Peekskill in 2011.
My biggest regret is buying this house and moving to this community because I worry what risk I've put my children at.
In the area, a sewage disposal center, a decommissioned nuclear power plant, a drywall manufacturer, as well as the Wheelabrator incinerator. The facility has a permit to operate in Peekskill until 2029, and if it makes it that long, it'll be the oldest incinerator in the country.
This thing just had its 39th birthday.
Its smokestack regularly emits a plume that can sometimes be seen from downtown and from Courtney's upstairs bedroom.
We open the door and the burning plastic smell hits us.
And the asthma rates in this community are quite high, as we understand.
They are. They're significantly higher than the rest of Westchester County even.
One of our trackers dropped off at a Target in Newburgh, New York, ended up here rather than being recycled.
They put a tracker in with the plastic bags, and instead of going to the recycling place, it went to Wheelabrator. That's not where it's supposed to go. I know. I know.
After hearing the community's concerns, we asked We Liberator for a tour. They agreed, granting our team nearly full access to their operations. Up close, the incinerator's noise is deafening. It runs full steam day and night.
The pit goes down 40 feet vertically, and we operate 24/7.
There's way too much trash. We all need to come together at the table and have a holistic approach and way to manage it.
But isn't trash good for your company? Don't you want more trash? I mean, each time you get a truckload in, that's more money for the company, right?
Our job is to manage the waste that is generated as sustainably as possible. We can and we should do everything upstream to reduce the amount of waste that we are generating.
How much of what people think is being recycled actually ends up here at an incinerator?
Globally, the amount of resources that we're able to recover across the whole globe right now is sitting at around 9%.
How much do people think that they're recycling?
I think they think it's a lot more.
We walk around the facility and watch as the incinerator lights up to 2,500 degrees, melting everything inside. When we tell them about our tracker ending up there...
Is that something that surprises you?
Plastic bags are notorious for being very, very, very difficult to recycle. It takes a very specific facility to accept those materials.
The We Liberator facility says there are no associated health impacts with their emissions, which are regularly monitored.
We have different environmental limits that we have to adhere to in regards to emissions.
And they add they're needed here. Without them, they say, the alternative could be much worse.
You saw how much waste is being generated. It's got to go somewhere. If we didn't exist, that waste would be put on large semi-trucks, then be trucked, to the nearest landfill, which can be hundreds of miles away.
Many of our plastic bags did end up at landfills like this one. In a city that's one of the richest in America, home to celebrities like the Kardashians and Justin Bieber.
We're at a landfill in Calabasas, California, where one of the trackers we put in a Walmart 15 minutes away last pinged.
On the ground, the site's managers help us track it to its last known coordinates.
It's somewhere right around here.
According to the EPA, half of our waste ends up in landfills, with food being the #1 source and plastic being the second.
Essentially a mountain that is filled with trash and dirt. How long does it take for it to biodegrade?
Oh gosh, it's going to be here for thousands and thousands, millions of years.
Across the U.S., landfills are a top source of methane, a major contributor to climate change, and are almost at capacity, with one study projecting that they will run out of space by 2039. For years, the American Chemistry Council has been presenting the National RAP program and the Store Drop-Off System as a way to help reduce the amount of plastic going to landfills and incinerators by providing consumers with a convenient way to recycle plastic bags and film.
What percentage of what gets put in recycling bins do you actually think is recycled?
Well, not enough, if we're being really frank with ourselves. The systems that we have today that govern recycling are way outdated. They're frankly quite broken. It's not streamlined. And so not only is there a role for private sector investment, there is also a very important role for government.
Consumers can't possibly cope with the complexity of recycling plastic, which is why the vast majority of even the plastics that are earmarked for recycling end up in incinerators, in landfills, or even abroad.
Here's what I could tell you about that. We made a commitment of a handful of years ago that says 100% of the plastic packaging we make by 2030 will be recyclable or recoverable. And we're putting our money where our mouth is. $8 billion of investments to date to scale all types of recycling technologies.
So you're talking about the marvels of innovation, but why not live in a world in which you produce less plastic?
Because I bet you if you looked at that suit you're wearing, it's probably made out of a type of plastic. It's called polyester. That is manufactured from natural gas and oil. If you look at your pen that you're using right there, probably has a little bit of plastic.
There is no doubt.
The microphone that you're using also has a little bit of plastic.
And your point is?
Computers,
plastic
cars,
is in everything, which means that we should produce more of it without any guardrails?
No. Plastic is, like I said, we have two issues.
There is no doubt that there is utility in plastic. The question we are asking you is that you are marketing RAP as the panacea to plastic.
RAP is not the end-all be-all. It was a proof of concept.
Chances are you have a lot of material like this.
The ACC's promotional material references RAP as a national program with thousands of participating locations.
There are more than 18,000 drop-off bins across the country.
But Baca kept referring to RAP as a single pilot program in Seattle.
The RAP program was limited to one jurisdiction to serve as a proof of concept to show that it could scale investments across the United States.
In Seattle?
Seattle was the area.
All of a sudden, the ACC's media coordinator asks to interrupt the interview to clarify, but seems to repeat Baca's claims.
So the RAP program was just a pilot project in Seattle.
When did that start, that pilot program?
2018, 2019.
So you had one pilot program to try to recycle plastic in Seattle in 2018, and what have you done since?
Well, I think I've told you a lot of the things.
Baca says the ACC is not working with retailers nationwide. The ACC's website suggests otherwise.
So you've invested money, but you're not really working with retailers, is what you're saying.
No, but I think your premise of your...
No, I'm very confused. So you're not actually working with retailers to try to promote it?
Not in every single jurisdiction, no.
After the interview, it still wasn't clear exactly how RAP works. A few minutes later, Baca and his team asked to come back to update us with new information.
Updated facts.
A couple of things.
Okay.
Here's what I could tell you about RAP that I want to be crystal clear about, okay? What RAP does is it sponsors a directory of all the stored drop-off facilities in the United States. The Seattle project, which I want to be very crystal clear about, was something that was above and beyond what we normally do in that project. We didn't just do it in Seattle. We did it in Vancouver, Washington. We did it in Milwaukee. We did it in Hartford, Connecticut, as additional areas where we went above and beyond sponsoring the directory.
We just sat down for 45 minutes. You never mentioned those other cities.
Yeah, I didn't know those cities.
Do you know how long Seattle went on for?
I don't have the data right in front of me.
We checked with Seattle. The pilot project there happened in 2022, not in 2018. It lasted 5 months and gathered 25 total tons of recyclable plastics. And all of that was exported to a recycler in Canada. We then asked about what the ACC's website calls a national public awareness and outreach initiative with retailers that have plastic bag recycling bins where we deposited our trackers.
Is the plastic drop-off recycling program at retailers, is that working?
It doesn't work to the scale that we want. I think I've been very clear about that.
The ACC telling us the industry is changing course, now renewing its push for adapting curbside recycling for plastic bags, an issue RAP was originally designed to address. After talking to dozens of people all across the plastic recycling process, there seems to be one thing they can all agree on. The current plastic recycling system is not working. And critics say it's likely to stay that way as long as new plastic remains far cheaper than recycled plastics.
They're not reliable markets for the plastics. That's where you need government to take action.
So what can you do? For one, learn more about the community around you. And of course, most importantly, reduce, reuse, and only then recycle what you know you can.
I need to have people not give up on recycling, and then recycle smart. Read what's on that bin. Don't wish cycle. I know that sometimes you put something in it and hope for the best. If you really want to get advanced, advocate.
And for those in the shadow of those landfills and incinerators, they say they won't give up the fight.
Subaru doesn't care! Their trash is in the air!
I've been asked a lot, like, why don't you just move away? Like, if all of that horrible stuff is in your community. And my answer is always, where would I go?
This is our land. This is our community.
That's the incinerator right down there.
Back in Chester, Zulene is still organizing because she says for her community, everything is at stake.
And that's what this is about. These are personal things. We all have people that, you know, from this city, we've lost a lot. I'm trying to save my mother, my family, my nieces, my nephews, my sisters, and my brothers. Very personal battle. That battle ought to be yours too.
ABC News, America's #1 news source.
With so much happening these days, it's hard to keep up.
Things change hour by hour, minute by minute.
The historic weather that's now unfolding.
The worries on Wall Street.
We're bringing you the Right Now. But a nationwide teacher shortage.
The Right Now look at the day ahead. An alert this morning for dog owners and the key takeaways from the biggest stories.
World News Now and America This Morning, America's #1 early morning news.
Today does feel a little different. Early mornings on ABC News Live.
This is ABC News Live Prime.
Thanks so much for streaming with us.
Live reporting, exclusives. ABC News Live Prime with Lindsay Davis. Streaming weeknights.
Reporting from the earthquake in Turkey, I'm David Muir. Wherever the story, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Tonight, the debt ceiling deadline looms with just days left.
We met again last night. We're not there yet.
The Treasury Secretary warns of catastrophe, the stock market tumbling, and even the Speaker of the House is urging Americans for calm as negotiators remain deadlocked on a plan. Plus,
all right, we glued it down. It's nice and secure.
I got 4.
I'm outside of a Walmart in West Hills, California.
This is the Northside Walmart here in Austin. It's the largest investigation